Okay, so we're going to do another Empties video. My name is Karen Kennedy. I'm a functional nutritionist specializing in blood sugar and metabolic health, using CGMs and all that. But we're going to do some empties. And these empties videos, if you're not familiar with them, are my way of sharing some more light but nuanced information about supplements, nutritional supplements, that I have experience with, and give you a peek into the thought process that I use when choosing them. So sometimes I'm telling you about something I used with my patients that has been effective. And sometimes I talk about things that I've used. So I tell you a little bit about what I've got going on. Today, we're all about talking about stuff that I've been using for myself. And I've got 4 products I want to recommend. And the first one is Ascent Whey Protein. So I want to tell you why I use this and how I found this. So first of all, I found this first because I heard Peter Attia review it, and he said he liked the taste and it was convenient. I then recommended it to a couple of my clients who were doing some traveling and needed a convenient protein source that was low in carbohydrates. They were doing some backcountry stuff. And then I needed it because I was going on a business trip down to Las Vegas, and I needed something for the hotel room. You know, when you just get up and you need some protein and you don't want to have to rely on whatever you can get in a coffee shop or whatnot, save a few bucks. So I thought I would try it, and I thought it did the job. What I liked about it was that I literally didn't have to mix other stuff. I could just put a scoop into a container with a lid, shake it up, drink it. It tasted fine. It did the job. It all dissolved. It wasn't chalky. Totally happy with it. I'll use it again when I travel and probably on backpacking and camping. I think it's great for that. So that is the Ascent. Now, the next things that I'm going to review are, I'm going to review 2 things, actually 3 things. I should have put another thing in there. But I want to tell you first why I use them and some background. Well, first, I'm going to review a Liposomal Vitamin C product by Seeking Health, Quercetin by Pure Encapsulations, and I should say that I was also using a probiotic also by Seeking Health called their Probiota Histamine X. So let me tell you why I was using those 3 products, because I wasn't using anything else. Background. I have worked for a while with people who have Ehlers-Danlos, hypermobility, MCAS, POTS. And one thing that I've learned with my coworkers, my colleagues in this, like Tracy Rodriguez, is that a lot of the negative symptoms happen because of very activated mast cells. Mast cells, M-A-S-T. These are part of kind of your innate immune system. They're white blood cells that bring it. They're responsible for a lot of the allergy symptoms. When they are activated, they release histamine and a lot of other mediators, a lot of other chemicals that recruit the rest of the immune system, crank on the inflammation. And anyways, you know what histamine is, all the allergy, sneezing, hay fever kind of symptoms. That's what histamine does. But a lot of the mediators will also break down connective tissue. They can cause hives. They can cause POTS outbreaks, GERD, the reflux, visceral pain. And they break down connective tissue, like I said, so they can cause more hypermobility. Anyways, the reason I was taking it is that, a lot of times people are on the spectrum with that. And some people do have some of those symptoms. And we find season, if someone is prone to hypermobility and a lot of excess mast cell, if it's allergy season, then they're going to have more histamine in their body because their mast cells are waking up and releasing these mediators, that all the rest of their symptoms get worse. And if we can stabilize their mast cells to keep them from degranulating, dumping out all these chemicals, stabilizing mast cells really helps their system. Their symptoms. Otherwise, they're relying exclusively on antihistamines. And while antihistamines aren't bad, the histamines are still floating around doing stuff, but we can block them binding to some of their receptors with over-the-counter antihistamines. But wouldn't it be better to just stop the release of all these mediators? So there are natural products. There's pharmaceuticals, but there's natural products that help block or stabilize mast cells. And two things are vitamin C and quercetin. Doesn't work for everybody, and some people can use something other than quercetin, like this pine bark extract. But I use these, and I also use the probiotic because a lot of times improving the gut microbiome also improves the immune system. And I happen to have those anyways at my house, so I was using those and these. And most people would take these like 500 to 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C 2 to 3 times a day, and about 500 milligrams of quercetin 2 to 3 times a day. I took one dose of each. I took my probiotics in the morning, and at the same time, I took 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams of the vitamin C, and I took one capsule of quercetin. Now, I did this for a certain period of time. I have a hay fever season, usually grass pollen. That's not too bad anymore. Like, I really don't have bad symptoms anymore. But I noticed the last few years that at the peak hay fever time, right around mid-June, I would always get a psoriasis outbreak on my hands, a little one. It used to be much worse. On my hands, sometimes on my neck, and I would get a little bit of joint instability, and my sacroiliac joint would pop out and cause me a lot of pain. And I thought, I bet that's associated with my allergies. I wonder if I stabilize mast cells, could I prevent that? So this year, one person, one allergy season, I just did a single dose of these and that probiotic. I started it before my allergies usually started. I wrote it on the calendar, and I think I started it in May, before Mother's Day, probably mid-May. And I continued it until the end of June. And I think I sneezed about 3 or 4 times during that time. I really didn't have hay fever symptoms. But also, most importantly, is I didn't get any outbreak at all, zero psoriasis on my hands or my neck. And so far, so good, knock on IKEA furniture. I didn't get any instability in my sacroiliac joint. So I thought that was interesting. And of course, I know that it works for other people, but it's another thing that I like to do with my patients who I know struggle with mast cells, to remind them that before their seasonal hay fever season kicks up, like in the springtime, to, ramp up their program, stabilize mast cells, maybe tighten up their diet during hay fever season to try to reduce that histamine burden. So that was really effective. And if that's something that you struggle with, don't rule out mast cells, and it can be as simple as a couple of easy supplements to take. So I like that. So I think that was the most interesting empties that I have to report. But I have one more thing that I'm taking for me, and it also comes with a long story. And this is what I'm taking. I'm taking this enzyme blend. And so I should say, I don't take all these at the same time. I do experiments for periods of time. But this is a 1-year experiment I'm doing. I'm doing an enzyme blend by Heartstrong, and other people make this, but this product has serrapeptase and nattokinase in it. I'm taking it twice a day on an empty stomach, and this is why. So I have, I'm a generally healthy 55-year-old woman, but after menopause, I noticed my lipids were going up, as it sometimes happens for people, and I had my doctor run an advanced lipid panel, and I discovered that I had elevated Lp(a), which is an independent marker, a risk factor for heart disease, for thrombosis and blood clots, because it seems to impair your unclotting ability, right? Lp(a). And there's a few other genetic markers that do that too. And particle size and blah, 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 blah. So one thing I have scheduled is to get a coronary calcium score. I want to get that done. But I have a family history of early heart disease. That's in my family. And so I think it's really worth my while to keep an eye on that and see if I have coronary calcium. And what coronary calcium is, that's the hardening of the arteries when you get a deposition in there. And the thing about that calcium deposition and clotting, and why it sometimes can be so hard that once you have that coronary calcium, to get rid of it, is that the matrix that holds that clot together is a fibrin matrix. And that fibrin that's like in a blood clot, when you have a clotting that keeps you from bleeding to death. Fibrin is what am I looking for? The structure, there's a word for that, the scaffolding that everything else builds off of. It's like the skeleton. And when you unclot, when you break down clots, you would break down that fibrin. And because I know that I have that elevated LP little a, maybe I'm not as good at breaking down clots, I decided I wanted to take something that helped break down that fibrin, and that would be that nattokinase. So I have heard that that can be really effective for blood clots. And so I thought I would take this, and I already do some vitamin K. And so I'm going to take this for a year. Very soon, I'm going to get in there and get a coronary calcium score. So I can do that this year and then next year. So if I have some coronary calcium, I want to see if I can reverse it. So I'm not recommending this product right now on this video, but that is what I'm experimenting for myself. So those are my empties, or they're not quite empties, as you can tell. I'm still using this. And the things that I've tried, when I do these, I am not suggesting you use the same products I'm using. I'm not suggesting you use the same strategies, but I'm hoping by telling you the reasoning that I use behind the products that I'm trying, you can see why I choose what I choose. Obviously, everybody's going to have different needs, different risk factors, different diets. And so if you do use some kind of supplement, it's probably going to be different than what I'm using. But I hope this was helpful for you. And if you like this content, please remember to hit like and subscribe.